Oh hi, I didn't see you there. Don't worry, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I know you clicked on this video so you could watch this video. I just wanted to remind you not to forget about the Drunk Banthas podcast, where me and my brother talk about sci-fi, horror, cartoons. But that's it. I know you want to watch this video, so just pretend I'm not here.
Hello, you beautiful nerds. There's a lot of great animated TV in 2021. I've already talked about how much I loved Invincible, but there was an animated show that came out late in the game that I feel surpassed Invincible in a few different ways. It surprised the hell out of me, so I figured if I'm gonna be this obsessed about something this nerdy, I might as well talk about it with my fellow Banthas. So get a little high and get a little drunk, but don't feel obligated. I'll drink and smoke for the both of us. And let's take a quick minute to chat about... But first, a prelude. In the year of our Lord 2008, a new video game was announced to be released called League of Legends. It was meant as a spiritual successor to Defense of the Ancients by Riot Games founders Brandon Beck and Mark Merrill. It ended up being a wildly successful game with pretty favorable reviews. On the League of Legends 10th anniversary, Riot Games announced an animated series based on the video game would be coming out soon. And then in November of 2021, the series was released on Netflix. Now, I don't really know anything about League of Legends. I game a little, but I just never played it. In fact, I'm glad I discovered this show on my own, because if someone came to me before I saw it and said, "Oh, Alex, you gotta watch this new show. It's based on League of Legends and Imagine Dragons did the theme song," I would be like, "Oh, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I will be actively avoiding it." But this show made me kind of want to play the game, simply because I'm curious how this story plays out in a medium like a video game in contrast to a TV series. Because as I've said before, it's hard to translate one form of storytelling to another, whether it be book to a movie or video game to a TV show. This story, however, was told beautifully. I like how they release the episodes week by week, 3 episodes at a time, because the first season does kind of play out in a 3-act structure. Though I admit that the whole week to week thing made me kind of forget about it, and that's probably why I'm reviewing this so late. But whatever, I smoke a lot of weed, I'd be forgetting shit. But let's talk about what we're talking about. Arcane takes place in a fantastical continent that kind of reminds me of Steamland from Disenchantment. It follows, for the most part, 2 sisters, Vi and Powder, 2 scrappy little orphans whose parents died in this kind of civil war between the rich and the poor folk back in the day. They get adopted by Vander, a revolutionary who fought in said war. He was on the poor side. Now, years later, the kids are slightly more grown and running with a swashbuckling gang of thieves who do some steal from the rich and give to themselves kind of shit, doing their best to avoid the enforcers of Piltover and Silco, the crime boss of the Undercity, Zon. On one of their outings, they stumble upon a young, ambitious scientist's experiment. And once it's discovered, its limitless potential changes the lives of everyone on the continent, for good and for ill. The story for this season unfolds exceptionally well. And there are also deep dramatic themes about drug abuse and the perils of the advancement of technology. Kind of like Jurassic Park. It's pretty much Jurassic Park. It's not anything like Jurassic Park. It was interesting the way that they showed the backstory of some of the characters in flashback without derailing the narrative of the story. Like, I liked Witcher, but that first season was so all over the place, it was hard to follow. But you get a clear idea of where every character is coming from because the show takes the time to delve into their past traumas and how that motivates their actions in the present. Which I imagine was hard to do considering there are about 50-11 characters in this damn show. It's very much an ensemble cast. We got Silco, the mob boss of the Underground, the council that consists of this fuzzy little dude, Okoye from Black Panther, British Kelly Rowland, and Machine Head dude from Attack of the Clones. This British lady, speaking of which, the British lady, her daughter becomes really important. Echo, the little man, Jace the scientist, his boy Victor. Like, there are so many moving parts in this show, but for the most part, the story revolves around Violet and Powder. Slight spoilers for the first few episodes, but their story is pretty tragic. Pretty early on in the series, they established that no one is safe. Anyone, whether it's an adult or a child, can die at any point. Consequences are serious and stakes are high, which makes you in turn that much more invested in the characters and their journeys. Vi's journey to save Powder is a big part of the show, but also her relationship with Caitlyn becomes intrinsic to the story. They learn from each other because both of them, no matter how smart either of them may think they are, they still have a very limited and biased view of each other. But as they get to know each other, they realize that they want the same thing, and maybe there are a lot of other people who feel the same way. It's your basic buddy cop formula, I guess, but it's more fun because it takes place in this fantasy world. Another thing that makes it different is that it's kind of gay. When I say it's kind of gay, I mean the show seems afraid to go full homo with their two main female characters. Like, they're really doing a lot of queer baiting here. Not sure why this show is afraid to show any gay PDA, but they were bending over backwards making sure these girls don't actually kiss. There were like 4 times when I felt like Sebastian from The Little Mermaid.
Go on and kiss the girl. Go on and...
You may be thinking, Alex, my guy, this is a cartoon, a kid's show. Why bring such mature themes like romance or sex into this? But, I mean, this show is all about drug abuse, and the show does occasionally murder children, so I don't think that this is necessarily a cartoon for children. Also, we did get a straight romance storyline between Mel and Jace. There was even a whole fucking sex scene between the two of them. And if you start counting how many cartoon shows and movies have a dude romantically pursuing a chick, you will run out of fingers real quick. Of course, this is nothing new. This is a way for shows to have their cake and eat it too. They can give little woke crumbs to people who want to see more representation in media, while also not alienating audiences who don't want any of those darn gays in their wholesome TV shows where people get blown up. I mean, the only reason that queerbaiting still kind of works is because the LGBTQ community is so desperate for interesting stories that represent their lives and romances on screen in a nuanced way. I know that I'm guilty of someone telling me I don't watch Game of Thrones because they don't have any black people. And then I'll be like, not true. They got Salador. Does anybody remember Salador?
I'm going to fuck her.
Where shows in the 90s, like Xena, had to resort to queer coding lest their show get canceled, like Ellen did. Today, show creators can't use that same excuse. I'm not sure if this is explicitly queer baiting or if the creators are just afraid to get too gay.
Nigga, you gay.
Not saying that there needs to be romanticism in all stories. In fact, sometimes it's refreshing when someone has motivation to do something beyond falling in love with someone else. I just think there's plenty of room for cartoons for kids and cartoons for older audiences, and I don't see any reason why we can't have LGBTQ characters in both. And it seems like this show is, in a lot of ways, pushing the limits of what an animated series can be. And maybe this is just a slow burn, and in the next season we'll see that Vi and Caitlin's relationship has grown. But the first season could have been a little gayer. It is still a pretty diverse show. I mentioned before that when I watch a show that doesn't have any gay, black, or brown people in it, it's always kind of jarring, especially for fantasy movies and TV shows where race shouldn't even fucking matter. Like, when you got motherfuckers like this walking around, is it really that crazy to think that we should see like an old Korean lady or something? But the world that they've built here is incredible. It really feels like a living, breathing world. And that's in no small part due to the writing and the animation working in tandem. For a while now, I've been pretty bored with CGI cartoon shows. Not that they aren't great in their own right, but like Clone Wars, for example, has never really wowed me visually. And from the beginning of that show to the end of that show, it didn't really change that much. Even the Bad Batch doesn't look, it looks exactly the same. And at first glance, this show has a similar style as Clone Wars, but as the show gets going, it looks more like the pictures they showed during the post-credits of The Mandalorian, but like in motion. It's hard to explain. You know how you see those still images of characters in GTA, but then you see them in the game and they don't really look the same? This show adds that same dynamic, striking messiness of those still images, throws them in a CGI blender, and puts them into motion. What If tried to do something similar, and it looked pretty great at times, but their facial character design was fucking garbage in comparison. Like, am I seriously supposed to believe that that's Chris Hemsworth? Looks like fucking Fred Flintstone. Also, you can really feel the weight of the boots and the steel of everything. Weight and scale is not an easy thing to convey in real live action films, and it's even harder to do when everything you're watching is fake. The design of the world is mind-blowing. Seeing the contrast of the rich city of Piltover and the poverty-stricken Zon is pretty remarkable. The technology from the upside is clean and slick, while the undercity is dingy and clearly wrought from limitation of resources. Occasionally there are moments where the show turns into a music video, like there's a rock performance in the middle of the show for no damn reason. But I think that more has to do with, I think my irritation with that is more because I don't like Imagine Dragons.
I mean, look on the bright side. You don't have to go see Imagine Dragons.
I love Imagine Dragons.
Luckily, most of the time, all I have to do is skip the intro, and like 97% of all my problems with this show are eliminated. But I also understand that that's a personal, I get it. A lot of people like Imagine Dragons. And Nickelback.
It's the same reason everybody hates Nickelback. Because the internet says so.
Overall, this show has so much going for it. I wanted to make this sort of a spoiler-free review for the most part, because I think everyone should be watching this series. Animation has been an undermined form of media for so long, and I really don't understand why. Sure, the majority of kids' entertainment is animated, but that doesn't mean that animated stories are exclusively for children. Some animated shows are definitely not for children.
I think there was always this idea that getting into live action is more legitimate than doing animation, but to me, animation is the ultimate art form. It's the art form that encompasses all art form. There's a perception that it's for little children, but it's not for little children.
There are obviously a lot of comedic cartoons that we understand are too mature for children, but we're not willing to hold animated drama to that same stature. Do you know how hard it was to get my friends into Invincible just because it was animated? And now that they've watched it, they love it. So if you're listening and I recommended it to you, fuck you. I love you. And fuck you. The story is captivating, the voice acting is on point, and the fight scenes are some of the best I've ever seen, live action or animated. A second season has already been announced, and that's always bittersweet. Yes, we do get more episodes of this incredible series, but much like Harley Quinn and Invincible, since they're animated, we're gonna be waiting a long ass time. But also, like those shows, I'm officially hooked. So rest assured, especially after that insane cliffhanger, I will be eagerly awaiting the next chapter of this spellbinding series. My ranking, I loved it. Put Haley Steinfeld in more shit because she's clearly not working enough.
I'm everywhere, bitch.
I just wanted to give a big thank you to FD Signifier. If you don't know who I'm talking about, FD is this incredibly insightful YouTuber who makes videos about black culture and representation in media. I stumbled upon his channel because he made this video about Joker and edgelord movies, and since I'm a black nerd, YouTube was like, yeah, you're gonna like this. Anyway, FD recently shouted out the channel. He's a lot smarter than me, so getting high praise from him was pretty, I did not expect that shit. It was awesome. Anyway, I just wanted to express my appreciation for the shout out, and also to say thanks to all the new subscribers who came via his recommendation. So thanks again, Uncle FD. I'll see you at the cookout. Alright, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave so you can get updates on new videos. Until next time, stay safe, my little enforcers, and may the force be with you.